All right, big announcement, top of the show. Normally, this is the kind of thing we drop at the very, very end, but we got to get the word out, Andrew, because even though this week our theme is coming to an end, that's the last episode of October. We're gonna announce at the end of this episode our theme for November, but here at the top of the show, we're gonna tell you our theme for December, 2 months out.
My God.
Why are we telling you early? Because we need your help. You are going to choose the movies that we cover in December. That's our theme. There's probably a clever name we'll come up with, like listener gifts, like holiday, make it somehow somewhat holiday. I don't know. We haven't worked that out. We just know that we want you to tell us what movies we will be talking about. How do you do that? Thank you for asking, dear sweet listener. Check the show notes. There is a link to a Google form. You just click that link, type in the movie. There's a spot you can tell us why you want us to cover that movie. Totally optional. There's even a spot to recommend a second movie if you would like to get really crazy, and hit submit. That's all you got to do. We're going to be gathering your responses all month, and we will shake it up, see what comes out the other end. Obviously, movies that get a lot of demand are probably going to be a lock for December. If we have some ties, need to do some tiebreakers, we will work that out down the road. Maybe do a little tournament or bracket style if necessary. But all that matters, all you need to know is that you submit the movies. And that begins right now. Go ahead, right now. Show notes, click the link, tell us what we're covering in December. Andrew, do you suspect listeners are going to be kind? What kind of suggestions do you think we're going to be getting here? Movies we've never heard of? Movies that are going to be horrible? Movies that might be actually good? I don't know what to expect.
Guys, it's been a hard year. Please, for the love of God, take some pity on us.
We just watched like Citizen Kane, just classic cinema. Mr. Smith goes to Washington.
They're just like, Andrew, for Christmas, we would like you to watch Christmas Vacation. And it's like, oh, how nice of you. I want you to watch an underrated holiday classic, guys, Home Alone.
It doesn't matter what you or I think, though, Andrew. It's about the listeners. Really, whatever you want. Throw it in there. I'm excited to start seeing those results come in, and we will definitely make announcements as far as like what movies are coming in, what's in the lead, what's a lock, and if you want to follow along with all that, just hop into our Discord if you aren't there already. There's a link, once again, in the show notes, but that's not necessary to submit your picks. All you got to do is hit that Google form, so please go ahead and do that, and right now, we are going to hit that theme song.
We're not talking about the best of them. We're just talking about the rest of them.
Not the worst parts, but the best parts. And the best parts we have. The best of the rest.
Hello, and welcome to Best of the Rest. My name is Chris Logan, and I am joined, as always, by my interdimensional co-host, Andrew Williams. Say something to the listeners, Andrew.
Yo.
I think you might have been interdimensional before, but you know what? It's hard to come up with these.
No way to check.
No way to know. It could have been my skinless co-host, but maybe that would have been more specific. Anyway, here's what the show is about. Each week, we take a second look at a movie that was poorly received upon release and challenge ourselves to only talk about the things we like and what the movie does well. It's Sci-Fi Horror Month, and this week we are talking the 1997 film Event Horizon.
Finally.
Andrew, last week, I kind of wondered if Deep Rising was even a sci-fi horror movie. Well, this week, I've got no doubt. This is sci-fi horror through and through. It is the epitome of the genre, if you will. I used the word notorious last week. You challenged me on that. I don't know how to describe this movie's legacy, but it certainly has one. It's certainly well known. I guess you could just call it a cult film if you want to be simple about it. But it is a I almost said the word notorious again. Let me get out of here. Andrew, we're talking Event Horizon. Yes, finally, a movie that's been requested multiple times, speaking of listener requests, and a movie that we've had on our little spreadsheet for a long time. And it's finally here, finally time to tackle it. Andrew, what's your history with this movie? I'm guessing you did not see it in theaters, but had you seen it before this week, getting ready for the podcast?
I had seen it before. I did not watch it in theaters. You know, the summer this came out, I was a whopping 10 years old. So my parents were not lining up to take me to watch the weird space horror movie with that guy from Jurassic Park in it. But it is something that I've obviously heard about in the ensuing years. Infamous, I never really, that's not really the word I'd use. Like, underrated is probably the one that's the word I hear most associated with this, probably, is that it's underrated.
Yeah. I just, for me, the legacy of the movie is, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit before we hit record, but like, I feel like for a certain generation, for our generation, really, this is the movie that like hit video, and a bunch of kids saw it probably too young, younger than they should have, like 8 to 15 years old. And it is like a visceral memory. It's the first time they saw some really gnarly, gory body horror type stuff, and it left that impression. So even if those people grow up and don't like love the movie or think about it fondly, like they remember certain scenes and visuals and aspects. So I don't know. To me, the legacy is more about the shock factor of the movie, not necessarily in terms of like good or bad quality of the film, but like, damn, that's the first time I saw, you know, a body
bit of a RoboCop situation.
Yeah, probably for a different generation, but yeah.
I get it. There's definitely people that this was definitely their introduction to like space horror, the kind of larger ideas of just things. This is definitely, I could see this being a gateway to people towards things like Alien and stuff like that. But it's definitely got a history. Like, it's obviously, I would say it's a cult film for sure. I would definitely say people consider it pretty underrated, especially given kind of the director's, kind of status now, which we'll talk about more, the director being an alum of the show and everything. But it's, especially now, like kind of in the thick of spooky season, a lot of people look at this movie and there's a lot of fans of it. There's a lot of people that looked at this movie very fondly. They think this is just a really, really great entry into the general concept of science fiction horror. I think the story of the movie, the production, if you will, the story of the movie is called The Plot, Andrew. But
the behind the scenes story.
The behind the scenes story about it, I think, adds to that, if we'll call it notoriety. I don't really still think that's not really necessarily the right word, but the kind of idea that there was this longer version that kind of dived into a lot more of the details and the maybe even went a little bit further, even though this movie, I would say, still goes pretty far for what it's doing. There is, I think that adds to the kind of mythic nature of it in some ways, just that idea that, this is the one movie, but, there's an even longer version out there, or would have been a longer version out there. That footage is largely believed to have been lost at this point. But yeah, so I've obviously, when I saw that stuff, saw all the history and everything come back around, I was like, okay, got to go check this out. I think I bought a 4K of it somewhere along the line. Maybe, I don't know if a boutique label did that one or if somebody else did.
Did you just did you just stream it when it came time to watch it this week?
I have it in Vudu, yeah.
Okay, so you might have a 4K disc, but when it came time to watch it, you just streamed it.
It's just, don't call me out. I already know my problems. But I'm not gonna go digging and finding it. But yeah, so there's a history here that's definitely added to that kind of cult status that it has. But me personally, this is something I obviously came to later. And then I feel like I confused this one a lot with what was that other movie? Mercury Rising, even though they have nothing to do with each other.
The Bruce
Like,
Willis movie?
I just feel like the posters, when I saw them, like, I don't know why, but I feel like I confused the two of them, so I'm going to go look at this right now. Just charting off all the things.
I believe
right now.
The plot of Mercury Rising is that
it's an autistic kid. It's one of those.
Someone in the government puts a coded message in like a word search or something, just as a goof.
Yeah.
And then a savant autistic kid
it out.
sees it, and then that kid is now in danger. So Bruce Willis has to be his like protector. I think that's the plot of that movie. What a weird thing.
I sort of see what I'm going for here when I say that the posters kind of sent me in the same visual spot, but they're really not.
No, they're blue. They're
they got
blue and
two
have a
faces
face
on them. Yeah, that's it. What does it need, man? Listen here, Mr. Kurt Russell and Jeff Bridges are the same person.
Andrew, there are dozens of us. I googled Mercury Rising poster, and the first picture I clicked on, I'm guessing this is a German poster, and it says Das Mercury Puzzle. So,
excuse you, Chris. That's Das Mercury Puzzle.
Pardon me. I didn't know you knew German. Oh.
I know how to add a German accent onto things. That's for sure. But yeah. Anyway, point simply being that this is not some. It's obviously I came to it much later. Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it though, because it has been one of those ones that's been circulating around the pod for a long time. So
I definitely saw this as a kid, one of those too young probably to have seen it, rented it with my older brother, and I remember watching it at least once and thinking, wow, it's pretty gnarly. And I thought, my memory was that the plot was really dense and confusing and hard to follow, which finally revisiting it, that's not really the case, but maybe I just didn't understand some things as a kiddo, but not much, not a very difficult plot or anything too convoluted. But there are certainly, we'll talk about production a little bit more later on, but there's certainly, you can see the seams in some bits where it's a lot of 80-yard lines, sort of a rushed ending, some weird editing, but it doesn't feel like an incomplete movie by any means. I mean, it certainly comes out, this movie doesn't get great reviews like we'll talk about, but I don't know. I struggle with the, you can read a lot about what would have fleshed the movie out, and I don't know if I don't know. We'll get into it. Let's just set the stage here with the movie that we did get, though. The movie that was released August 15th of 1997 was made on a budget of $60 million. At the box office, however, only brings in $42 billion. Critically, it does not get great reviews. Currently holds a 36% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. And as you might expect from the legacy of this movie, the audience score is higher, significantly higher, 62% from the audience.
Not quite the swing I was expecting. This is another one.
Yeah, I would not have been surprised. It feels like a 75. Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised.
Yeah. So I'm a little surprised that it didn't quite work out that way. But yeah, so I will say this: there has been a reevaluation. Obviously, this is a movie where I would definitely say there has been a kind of a there's a whole section on Wikipedia about legacy and reevaluation. But it's and there's a lot of people who love to point out that there's a scene in Interstellar where someone makes the same kind of comparison about how wormholes work, and I'm like, I don't even think Event Horizon was the first movie to do that, guys.
I feel like I've seen that 10 times, and maybe it hasn't happened that much,
right.
But yeah, I don't associate that with this movie specifically. I feel like that's a very common sci-fi trope, but I don't know. I'm sure there's a supercut on YouTube you can watch.
Probably, I'm sure there is. But But yeah, so
I also hang on since you brought it up, you brought it up.
Heavens.
Do you think I don't even know how to ask this, Andrew? Do you think, let's say there was a professor talking about black holes and such in class? Do you think holding up a piece of paper, folding it in half, doing the pencil is like a valid way to try to get the point across? Because I'll be honest, I don't get it. Like I theory of relativity and like a black hole's gravity being so strong that it sucks in time. Like, you've lost me. I cannot. My brain can't wrap itself around the idea of time being some kind of physical, tangible thing. For me, it's just the name we've given to a thing that naturally occurs. But like, interstellar, like time passes differently on different planets because of gravity. Like I cannot wrap my head around the relation between the two. And obviously I haven't taken like advanced, I don't know what kind of classes you would take to learn about that, but like, right. I haven't studied it. But even getting these, these scenes like this in movies, like it doesn't make anything any more clear to me. But I guess what I'm asking you, do you think these little explanations and expositions in movies are based on some kind of theory or a proper way to teach these things?
I think the idea in a movie like this is to create the simplest explanation possible, because you're having to explain a relatively complicated process of, but like for everything he says, the fact that it creates a singularity but what he's effectively saying in this movie is that what he has devised is not a way to travel faster than the speed of light. What he has effectively perfected is almost space teleportation. Basically, he has invented a way to create a portal that takes you to another location in space. So I don't even know why he's using this metaphor, because I don't know that it's really apt for what he's describing. Because effectively, I guess it sort of is, but what he's effectively creating is a tunnel between 2 points, and it takes you seconds to go through the tunnel and appear across space versus taking thousands of years to just travel that distance yourself. So I think in the sense of creating a very easy explanation, there's obviously, I think that's why they do it in movies, is to be like, hey, here's this really complicated thing we just talked about, but here's an easy visual representation of what this effectively means. And in that regard, I think it's fine. But yeah, the usage of like gravity and how that affects relativity and things like that, because that's an example people will use. Like, the closer you get to the speed of light, the faster time can go. So it's why people will say that you could hypothetically time travel to the future, solely because you could travel in such a way that time is moving faster for you out there than it is for everybody else here.
I time travel to the future literally every day, Andrew. 60 minutes every hour. Mr.
Fancy. But point simply being that, like, we are moving at a particular rate. There is hypothetically a way to move at a faster rate, where you would perceive time around you as still being the same, but by using the theory of relativity and other usage of gravity around certain areas, you can move faster than you can effectively be in a scenario where time passes for you faster wherever you are versus where you're at. Now, those are all still relatively hypothetical. We've never really been able to test it on any serious scale, in the sense that, like, if you go to Mars, seconds are still seconds, hours are still hours. You're not really experiencing it in that regard, because there's not a black hole, there's nothing affecting the passage of time, essentially, or there's no gravitational effect on the passage of time. It's heavy.
Let's take a look at the creative team of this movie.
Oh,
it's
real
written.
Quick. Do you know what opened number one the weekend Event Horizon came out?
Number one. So it opened alongside Event Horizon?
Something opened alongside Event Horizon.
And it was number one, 1997.
Yes.
Ooh,
August
I don't know.
97.
I don't know. What is it?
It's a movie we've mentioned on this show many times.
Well, I know we're pre-Titanic, which is part of the production of this movie. It was rushed to beat Titanic. which is funny that they were considered like in competition at all. But obviously everything was in competition with Titanic once it was out. 97.
To be clear, Titanic wasn't going to make its release date, and so they bumped Event Horizon up to take that release date. It was the same studio.
Yeah, they wanted something to. Yeah.
They just
want to space out their
like
releases.
A competitor, yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where you're like, you guys
it's still silly.
Like,
like you're not splitting the audience just because it's the same studio. Anyway, what do I know? All right, 97. 97's like a big blank for me. Like Men in Black is 96. I think Armageddon's 98. I can't think of a big heavy hitter from 97. Andrew, what is it?
Well, you just named one. Men in Black was 97.
Was it? I thought Men in Black was 96. Well, look at that.
It was not. It is in the top 10 the weekend Event Horizon comes out, but it is not the number one.
Okay. Well, hey, I'm just happy to get one in the top 10.
Number one, the same weekend Event Horizon comes out, opens at number 4, making $9.5 million. It is beaten at number 1 by Copland.
Copland was number 1.
Only at $13.5 million, so it was not a significantly higher amount of money. But
obviously, I've seen Copland now. I love it. We've discussed it many times. I had never heard it. Like during that initial, I never heard of it in the 90s. I didn't come to that movie until much later, and it was truly hey, there's this hidden gem that no one's heard of called Copland. It's got an insane cast, so it's kind of surprising to me that at some point it was number 1. Now, granted, it's not like racking in the dollars or anything, but
right, Air Force
Copland.
One at number 2 in its 4th week of release.
That's a movie I remember.
And then Conspiracy Theory. I don't know if you remember that one.
Conspiracy
in its
Theory.
2nd week. I think that was Mel Gibson.
I thought that was the
Julia
Pelican
Roberts.
Brief.
That's the Taxi Driver is Conspiracy Theory. I don't know. Not big.
Yeah.
Spawn, rounding out the number 5.
Wait, what is the Pelican Brief?
That's Denzel.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I do know Conspiracy Theory, but for some reason I mixed up these titles. But yeah, they're both Julia Roberts. In Conspiracy Theory, Mel Gibson says advertisement instead of advertisement. First time I ever heard that. I hate it.
British. Yeah.
Worst thing Mel Gibson has ever said.
It's and looking at this, so then Men in Black sits at number 7. George of the Jungle at number 6. Spawn at number 5. Contact sitting at number 9 in its 6th week of release. Air Bud hanging out at number 10. The first Air Bud. But also at number 16 in its first week of release, making $870,000. Steel. The same week as Event Horizon and Copland.
Steel has probably been on our spreadsheet since day one because it is based on a comic book.
It will remain there.
I'm not sure it's even worth
such
covering.
A time.
But
It's not. It's really, really not. It is, but no, that's an interesting company that Event Horizon finds itself in there with. It does not hang on. It only gets like 4 weekends in theaters before it kind of disappears. By weekend 2, it's moved to number 7, upset by new releases G.I. Jane, Money Talks, and Mimic. By Labor Day weekend, it is well out of the top 10, falls to 11.
Dude, it's crazy. I know all of these movies. I have not seen all these movies, but I know all of these movies, and just hearing that they're in theaters at the same time, it gives me that special feeling, Andrew. The other night, last night, I crossed a threshold that I didn't think I would ever cross, and I don't necessarily like falling asleep with the TV on. I'd rather just drift off to sleep in the dark. But if I need to get to sleep, I gotta be up early, and I'm not particularly tired, I'll put something on because it focuses my brain and I can drift off. And my go-to is usually an old Summoning Salt video. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels. It's about the history of speedruns for a specific game. So I'll put on an old episode I've seen before. That's my go-to. But last night, I put on a 3-hour compilation of 1990s commercials. And I've known these things have existed forever, but I was like, I can't just watch these. Like, I know that it would give me that special feeling, but I can't. But I did it last night. It's like, it'll be just, background noise. I fall asleep. I probably watched it for like an hour before I finally fell asleep. I mean, I'm talking like a 10-second bumper of like what's going to be on Fox tonight. Tonight on Ally McBeal. Yeah. There's a quick, like real quick stuff.
Yeah.
God, it was. I'm ashamed that I watched one of those, but it was good, Andrew. The first one I actually tried to watch wasn't commercials, but it was like 90s kid shows. It was like Nickelodeon, like it was like a Nick block. It was like Nick shows like with the commercials. And I don't remember the channel, but I won't name it because I have something that I don't like about it. It had a bunch of artificial like VHS artifacts, like as if you had recorded it off TV, I guess was the idea, but like
static and fuzz and stuff.
That's not nostalgic to me. Or like tracking lines going up and down. And like that's not nostalgic to me. That's not how I watched TV. Like I the content is what's nostalgic. I don't need it to look like I found a tape from the 90s. Like, just give me the thing, So I switched to the commercials, and it presented them like straightforward, and it was. I'm ashamed to say, but it was kind of nice.
My family had a lot of stuff taped off TV. We've spoken of the Williams Vault before.
Yes.
Of which I believe nothing remains. I went looking the last time I was at my parents' house.
Did you have? I've probably asked you this before. Apologies, but my dad had like a piece of furniture to hold VHS tapes. Like I think everybody had like those drawers, those plastic drawers. Those were pretty common. But this was like a cabinet that opened up, and the doors had shelves, and it was the whole. We
had like a big shelf. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Crazy.
But. So obviously we had a lot of stuff taped off like movie channels because that would just be common. You get a free month of HBO, so you just record everything and then it's in the vault. But we would also tape stuff.
I've got 3 episodes I got episodes 3, 4, and 5 of the first season of Arliss on this tape.
So needlessly specific. Hey, by the way, get Knox a grant. But we would tape stuff off television. So like the one I remember is the old Rankin and Bass Rudolph, the one with
the stop motion.
The stop motion Island of Misfit Toys, Yukon Cornelius, the Halloween costume that I've somehow never pulled off so far. Even though I'm primed for it. But we had a copy of that taped off TV, and I remember watching that a lot as a kid, and I've definitely looked up on YouTube people that upload their versions taped off television to see if it's the same commercials. Because just having the commercials doesn't tickle my brain. It has to be the right commercial. Otherwise, it's not my memories. It's not my memory. Like, there's a very specific, like, 7-Up commercial that I remember, like a Christmas 7-Up commercial. Where, like, that was back when 7-Up, like, went super hard on, like, the red dot mascot. I don't know if you remember when that was, like,
this pre-Orlando Jones?
Yes, this is, like, pre-Orlando Jones. Like, the red dot just jumped off 7-Up, and he had sunglasses, and it was just a thing.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember a commercial with him, but I remember that mascot for sure.
And so, like, there's one where they just, like, it was all about proof of purchase, which was another big thing back at the time. You would snip off, like, proofs of purchase and send them in for stuff, and, like, this was about getting the 7-Up video game for Nintendo Game Boy, and it was all about making the season bright, and they're like snipping everything out, and then the bottle turns into a Christmas tree. And there was a McDonald's commercial where, like, back when they like put Ronald McDonald in the commercials, because they were like, oh, kids aren't terrified of clowns. But and like, it's just, I have these very vivid memories of very specific commercials, and I have gone hunting for those before, so I'm not gonna even remotely pass judgment here, because that is something I have definitely done recently. We've talked about the commercials at the beginning of the TMNT VHSs or the beginning of the Batman VHSs.
Yep.
Where, that's neckties. But
I don't. To be clear, I'm not. I'm sure we have listeners that have done that. Like, I'm not judging anybody for doing that. I haven't done it because I feel like it's a black hole that I will not be able to escape. So I try to just cold turkey it.
You're not. You are gonna escape. You're just gonna spend 7 years in a hell dimension first. So. And just like that, I've segued us back around perfectly.
This movie, Event Horizon, written by Philip Eisner. Now, this is by far his most high-profile work. I mean, if you catch him at a convention, he's signing your Event Horizon Blu-ray or poster or what have you. But does have a few other writing credits, some rewrite stuff. Nothing really to jump out, but I did notice... I just caught my eye. I had to look into it a little bit. He wrote in 2008 a movie called Mutant Chronicles. And the poster looks exactly what you would think it looks like for a 2008 movie called Mutant Chronicles. But Andrew, it stars Thomas Jane and Ron Perlman. And I'm like, this is Thomas Jane. This is like... I guess it's a little bit after Deep Blue Sea, but it's not too long after The Punisher. Like, Thomas Jane, what are you doing? I guess Ron Perlman is still... When's that first Hellboy, Andrew? Is that 07?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so after Hellboy...
04 is the first Hellboy.
Oh, wow. Well, way earlier than I thought. Yeah, because 2008 is Hellboy 2, right? Because it's the same year as The Dark Knight. Yeah, so the same year as Hellboy 2, Ron Perlman is in Mutant Chronicles. I don't know. Another movie that this guy wrote, but like I said, Event Horizon is certainly his most high profile.
Definitely. Yeah, I was looking at all of the stuff he wrote, and it's just like, yeah, I don't really recognize any of this stuff. But Event Horizon is definitely the biggest high profile one. He did a Firestarter sequel television series in the early 2000s, and yeah, it's a weird little run here that he's got, but yeah, Event Horizon is definitely the claim to fame here.
And the movie is directed by Paul W.S. Anderson, still being credited as simply Paul Anderson, but I think it might be his very next movie where he starts being Paul W.S. Anderson, presumably to separate him from the other Paul Anderson, one Paul Thomas Anderson. But I've never really done a deep dive on this. Paul Thomas Anderson, Boogie Nights is 97. Like they're both on the scene. I don't know why they eventually had, I assume it's a Directors Guild thing, but I don't know why he made the change so late, because I feel like it would already be an issue if it is an issue. And I think it's kind of funny that neither one are simply Paul Anderson. They are both using middle name or middle initials. None of them claiming to be the original. I don't know. I'm curious how that went down. But Paul W.S. Anderson, alum of the show, multi-alum of the show, I believe. We talked about Mortal Kombat, which was his, not his directorial debut, but his Hollywood debut and a big hit for him. We talked about Resident Evil as well, which comes out a few years after this. But this is, other than his first, his directorial debut, which was an indie movie overseas, this is his follow-up to Mortal Kombat, essentially a second Hollywood movie. And by all accounts, he was in high demand because of the success of Mortal Kombat, and this is what he settled on. Rather than doing a sequel to Mortal Kombat or other projects that he was offered, he wanted to go hard R, and this script caught his eye. It is believed that he did heavy rewrites, but obviously not getting any kind of screenwriting credit, but he did help shape the tone and story of this script into what we got.
You want to know the story about why he's Paul W.S. Anderson? Because it's not
I
a
would
mystery.
love to.
So he signed himself up with the Directors Guild of America as Paul Anderson and was directing films as Paul Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson registered himself with the Writers Guild as Paul Anderson. So it basically meant that he was incapable of being credited as Paul Anderson for writing and directing, which is what he wanted. So he had to come up with a name that, or had to come up with a version of his name that existed in neither that was available in both directories, the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild, and that's how he landed on Paul W.S. Anderson. So the whole thing comes to the fact that he could direct movies as Paul Anderson now if he wanted to, but he could not get writing credit as Paul Anderson. And so
it would be funny if the movie was written by Paul W.S. Anderson, directed by Paul Anderson, and it's just the same person, but he's got two different names.
I would think I would definitely do that. Like, I would absolutely do that. Like, there's no way I wouldn't. Like, I would be like, wow, so it's just somebody you know? It's me. Like, it's me. It's literally me. But yeah, so that's the story that's out there, is that it's centered on basically Paul Thomas Anderson went to the Writers Guild and basically said, I'm going to be Paul Anderson, because early on, Paul W.S. Anderson, like, he's a writer on Shopping, but then he's not a writer on his next 3 films, and then he's a writer on almost everything since. So when he does Mortal Kombat, Event Horizon, and Soldier, he's not writing those. So I'm guessing in that period, and then Shopping was kind of a like a British kind of action crime drama. So with the Writers Guild of America and the Directors Guild of America, he wasn't really writing at the time, so it didn't really matter. So by that point, Paul Thomas Anderson had kind of burst onto the scene, and he registered with the Writers Guild as Paul Anderson. So that's the story. Soldier, do you remember that movie?
There's I remember the poster, like the cover. I have not seen it. There's a decent chance that, like, on our Mortal Kombat episode, you explained that exact thing. It's very possible. Should probably check my house for a gas leak if that is the case.
Chris, do you smell toast? But anyway, we've talked about Paul Anderson before. He's Paul Anderson until Resident Evil. Resident Evil, I think, is the first movie where he's Paul W.S. Anderson.
And where Mila Jovovich becomes, like, the star of every one of his movies. So it's definitely pre-Jovovich
era. They're married now, so good for them. But yeah, I mean, man's career speaks for itself. Obviously, in recent years, he's largely been known for Resident Evil. He did have a movie come out this year called In the Lost Lands that is based off a short story by George R.R. Martin. And that movie starred Dave Bautista and, you guessed it, Mila Jovovich.
Of course. I think, I can't remember if we said this on mic, but I know we discussed Paul Thomas Anderson. Excuse me. I have a tab pulled up with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Really gotta get
Paul W.S. Anderson has never had a movie certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, and I don't mean that as any kind of indictment of his films. Like, I love Mortal Kombat. I like a lot of his movies. They're just not that kind of movie, I guess, that's going to get that acclaim. But it is interesting because he has such a long storied career, a lot of movies, never certified fresh. I wonder, this is probably something we've done before and I'm forgetting. Paul Thomas Anderson has probably never had a movie certified rotten, if I had to guess. Right? Because he is certainly
an excellent question. I'm very curious if there's
I mean, Hard 8, I'm looking at his filmography. Hard 8, I'm not familiar with. Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, The Master. Inherent Vice has a mixed reception.
Inherent Vice, I think does have a negative reception. So Hard 8 has a
Inherent Vice 73%.
Oh, it sneaks through. So Hard 8 is fresh. Boogie Nights is, like, definitely fresh, right? Yeah, 91. Yeah. Magnolia's definitely fresh. It's an 82. Punch Drunk Love is a 79. There Will Be Blood is like a 99, right? 91. The Master is 85. Inherent Vice is 73. If there was one that was probably going to be bad, it was that one. Phantom Thread has a 91. Licorice Pizza has a 90. And One Battle After Another has like a 95.
Dude, I've heard nothing but good stuff about that. Have you seen that yet?
No, I don't know that I will.
No?
It's one of those where like everything about it has been so positive, but it's 162 minutes. And I just don't know if I have 2 hours and 40 minutes in me. But also I think
gotta watch this YouTube compilation.
I think that's like, I thought I read somewhere that was the exact length of Knives Out 3, but I don't think I'll have a problem with that one. Although I think I saw later that one was only like 220, which is still long, but yeah, so no, you are correct. Paul Thomas Anderson does not have a single film that is rated negatively.
Story of two Paul
Andersons.
PAs,
if you will.
If they were to meet each other and shake hands, they would both just evaporate. Like they would become
like Time
zero.
Cop. It would be like Time Cop, literally, the ending where they just touch each other and they blow up.
All right, Andrew. Let's dive into the movie at hand here. Event Horizon. Talk about everything we like. All the positives are. You ready?
Yes.
The Event Horizon is a spacecraft designed to travel faster than the speed of light by taking a shortcut through another dimension. After vanishing during its maiden voyage, the ship reappears near Neptune 7 years later. A crew was assembled to investigate, including the ship's designer, Dr. Weir. Once on board the Event Horizon, it becomes clear to both Dr. Weir and the rest of the crew, led by Captain Miller, that everyone on board met a grisly death, and they will be next if they can't find a way to escape. Like I said earlier, it's actually a pretty simple plot. They're on board a ship, something terrible has happened here, and it might happen to them unless they can get off the ship. A mostly familiar premise. Obviously, it's just up in its sci-fi, and it's black hole, and it's other dimension. But we've seen similar tropes and setups in the horror genre before, many on our very podcast.
Yeah, once or twice. It's a relatively, and just the baseline setup is like definitely right up my alley. Like, spaceship goes missing for 7 years and it suddenly reappears. Like, that's a deeply intriguing premise. And then the movie just takes it into the wildest possible place that it can. Maybe not the wildest, but it's a pretty wild place to take it. But yeah. No notes on that. The setup is pretty interesting. So,
and we're going to talk about those places that it goes, of course, when we talk about the scenes of this film. But first, we're going to talk about this cast, and you know what we're going to do. We're going to start with the high point, best casting and best performance of the film, because every episode, we recognize one person who goes so far above me on the Call of Duty that they actually elevate the quality of the entire film with their performance, and we recognize that person by giving them the Mark Strong Award. So, Andrew, kick us off. Who is getting your Mark Strong Award for Event Horizon?
Excellent question, Chris. I will be going with who effectively becomes the de facto hero of the movie, but I'm going with Lawrence Fishburne as Captain S.J. Miller, the commanding officer of the Lewis and Clark, which is the search and rescue vehicle sent to investigate the Event Horizon. Obviously, it's Fish. What do you got to say, man? It's Fish.
It's Fish.
It's Fish. But he is. We were texting back and forth about some of the dialogue that he says throughout this movie, because there's some really, it's very blunt, straightforward stuff. But the way I described his character is like he acts like every character. He acts like you wish characters acted in a movie like this.
Yeah.
Where there's just
you wish every
no
horror
nonsense.
movie had at least one person I was like, dude, this place is fucked. Let's get out. Right?
Yeah,
I mean, he says basically that line at least 5 times in this movie.
Right. Like, so a lot the second half of this movie is basically all Lawrence Fishburne trying to leave this place because he's like, nah, man, this is not it. We got to get out of here.
Abandoned mission. We need to leave.
And not just do we need to leave, we have to blow this thing up so that nobody else ends up here. Like, we need to literally remove this from existence. Now, obviously, he runs into a lot of problems with that, but it is still I like this character a lot. He's very practical. He's got no room for nonsense. Like, at one point, Sam Neill starts explaining something in like a really deep scientific way, and Lawrence Fishburne is like, "Hey, man, nah. Like, we were on a vacation. We got called back to deal with this. Like, you need to get straight to the point. I don't want any nonsense. I don't want layman's terms. Just explain to me what's going on here, and we'll get this done." And like, he's got no room for anything. He's got no nonsense. When things start going sideways, he has no question to be like, all right, it's time to leave. There's an old joke that Eddie Murphy used to do about talking about things like the Amityville Horror or The Exorcist, and how he's just like, there's no way I would ever be in one of those movies, because he would be like, the family would be walking into the house and he'd be like, man, the house is great. Like, kids are out playing in the yard. The house is beautiful. Everybody's great. And there'd just be a voice that's like, get out. And he'd be like, too bad we can't stay. And they would just walk right back out. It's like,
Yep.
That's it. You don't mess around with it. And so I love a character like that, because there's this kind of perception that these movies, the characters in these movies, need to be dumb because otherwise they don't work. And I actually think this character is a great example of how it can work, and you can still have the events unfold as they do. Like, it is very easy to have a character who is cognizantly aware of how bad the situation he's in is, and still have stuff happen to them. Like, especially in a situation like this where it's like otherworldly or supernatural, it's easy to have him be like, I gotta leave, and then it being like, nah, man, it's not gonna happen. And so I like this character a lot. I like the approach he takes, the ultimate sacrifice he gets to make at the end for the sake of everybody else. I love it. Obviously, it's Fish. We've talked about Fish plenty of times before.
Matrix month obviously was a big month for Fish. I got to talk about 10 times.
But, he's been in endless amounts of things. Man of Steel, Batman v Superman.
We also talked about those movies, so there you go. We've talked a lot of Fish on this podcast.
A lot of Fish.
I mean, I love Fish. Goes without saying, but he has such a commanding presence.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Him being cast as Morpheus is like, your whole life has been leading up to this. Like, I believe every word you're saying. Like, of course you're the wisest person. Like, it's so good. And I think about his role here, where like, he's the captain, he's the leader, and it's like, yeah, you couldn't cast Lawrence Fishburne as any other member of the crew, because it wouldn't be believable, but that this isn't the guy in charge, right? I mean, just the way he speaks, his presence, his air, like his aura, his everything. Every role he has, he brings a certain level of weight, of gravity. Andrew, what is it? What is it that he's bringing to these roles?
Gravity drive. Sorry. It's I believe it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of that. Then their gravitas, there, bud.
That's it, Andrew. That's what I was looking for. Now, Fish. We've been calling him Fish for a long time. Maybe since Matrix month. Maybe since Mission Impossible 2.
It's Mission Impossible 2 because of the specific Tom Cruise story where he says he's Fish.
Yes, but that was
why.
From Mission Impossible 3, which I don't know. Maybe I just want an excuse to bring that up. But
maybe I don't remember then. I'm confused as you then. Never mind. I'm ejecting.
So I love the Mission Impossible franchise, and back in the day, I had Mission Impossible 3 on Blu-ray, I think, and it was I went through all the special features, and Tom Cruise called Lawrence Fishburne Fish, just casually called him Fish, and I was like, weird. I've never heard anyone else say this. Is this the thing that you just call him? It was so odd to me, and I brought that up on the podcast, and then I went, I wanted to like play the audio, but I've repurchased these Mission Impossible movies. And my current version is the 4K box set, which has a 4K and it has a Blu-ray. and they have some special features, but no special feature where he calls them fish. And I'm like, man, it must have been like a bonus disc, or there used to always be 2-disc stuff, and the second disc had a special feature where he did it. So I went to like Half Price Books and I found a Blu-ray there, but it's just you open it up and literally the disc says disc 1, even though it's just a 1-disc collection. At one point there was a 2-disc collection, and Andrew, my last trip to Half Price Books, I sent you a picture of some of the stuff I picked up that Steelbook, The Office, BBC, but I also found this. This is a DVD collector's edition, M:I:3. That's all it says. That ain't say Mission Impossible 3. I found it, and disc 1 has special features, has behind the scenes, but then there's disc 2 with a bunch of little behind the scenes stuff. And I put this in my computer. I queued it up before we hit play. Andrew, I'm going to share my screen with you. And here we go. It looks like it's blacking it out. Maybe the DVD player is doing that, so you might just get audio, but that's all you need, baby.
It is.
Let's play this.
Now, I've known Fish since I was 18 years old. I looked at him and said, I can't believe we have not worked together yet. It was great having him in the film and having the opportunity to play scenes with him.
I've known Fish since I was 18 years old. It's Fish! Now,
Fish. There it is.
Certainly in my memory, and as we've quoted this, Tom Cruise calls him Fish like 5 times. I'm going to keep going, scrubbing through these, see if he keeps talking about and calling him Fish, but there you go. There you go, everyone. Tom Cruise calling Lawrence Fishburne Fish.
It is.
I'll definitely clip that, put it on our YouTube. I'm glad that I finally finally have that. But Andrew, I'm agreeing with you. Lawrence Fishburne, Fish, as we all call him, as he's known, also getting my Mark Strong award because, man, what he brings to this role is great. I mean, this could certainly, in lesser hands, and kudos to screenwriting as well, like this could be the stereotypical military hard ass, the guy that's like, we're gonna stick to protocol no matter what, even though crazy stuff is happening. But he obviously brings so much more intelligence to the role than that. Whenever things are clearly supernatural, he's saying our lives are more valuable than the mission. Let's get out of here. He's making choices that you wish more characters made in movies like this, and I really appreciate him for that. I like that he gets genuinely shaken up whenever he has these visions. Like whenever he's telling the story about the man that he had to leave behind as he got burned alive, you can tell that like it genuinely haunts him. He brings humanity to this role that is ostensibly military hard ass, but he's obviously playing so much more shades. But at the same time, anytime he talks, like I said, like he commands the screen, he commands the room. It's so believable that he is this leader, this person in charge. And it's Fish. What can I say? It's Fish.
It's Fish.
I like the performance a lot. I like Lawrence Fishburne anytime he shows up, this being no exception, and some good performances in this movie. But I've got to go with my gut. Agree with you, Lawrence Fishburne. Possible multi-Mark Strong Award winner at this point. Possible. There's of course no way to check, but definitely picking it up here. But Andrew, Sam Neill is also in this movie. Sam Neill, also an alum of the show, Jurassic Park 3, Jurassic World Dominion. We've talked about him multiple times before. Again, maybe gave him Mark Strong. I don't know. No way to check. But also doing a great job here. And if you had gone with Sam Neill for the Mark Strong Award, I would not have called you crazy, Andrew, because I do like what he is doing here. Sam Neill, we've had a chance to talk about him, as I just said, but what a career. What an interesting career. I mean, for a lot of people, Jurassic Park is like the thing they know him from. They've probably seen him elsewhere, but if you're going to ask somebody name a Sam Neill movie, oh, Jurassic Park. That's like his thing. And maybe some other movies here or there. I mean, the dude's been steadily working for decades, but his choice in movies, I think, is so interesting. Jurassic Park is almost an outlier, like a big Hollywood, big budget action movie. I'm thinking, especially like after that movie, like in the Mouth of Madness, or this movie here, Event Horizon, it's like this isn't. These are. Are you holding up in the Mouth of Madness? Still shrink wrap. That just came in, right? It's a new release from Arrow this year.
It just came out, yeah. John Carpenter, one of his last feature films. He hasn't done a whole lot since In the Mouth of Madness, but yeah, I agree completely with like Sam Neill. It's very interesting looking at his career because like you said, Jurassic Park is like the exception more than the rule. And even as you look at the stuff he's done recently, like it's pretty interesting. He did do. I probably mentioned this when we talked about him before, but like one of my favorite movies and a movie that for a lot of people kind of put him on the map as a filmmaker was Hunt for the Wilder People, which was written and directed by Taika Waititi, but starred Sam Neill and Julian Dennison. But that's such a tremendous movie. Like it's such an easy setup. Basically, Ricky Baker, Julian Dennison's character, is this kind of troubled youth who doesn't have any parents, and he gets taken in by this woman who just is eager to kind of foster him and give him some stability in his life. And he kind of doesn't take to it at first, and then he does. Your typical kind of like orphan type movie where he's like, "Oh, you're not my real parents," but then the whole thing flips on its head. And it's not just that it's the adopted mom that wants him there, but it's her husband that's kind of the more gruff, standoffish type, and you're just like, oh, it's going to be an odd couple situation. We'll see how it all works out. But then the foster mom dies, like just very suddenly out of nowhere. So it's just him and and Sam Neill. And so the movie is about them kind of being on the run, living as the Wilder People and bonding through that way. But then the world at large thinks that Sam Neill's character has kidnapped the kid. And so they end up on the chase for him. But just the way it's all put together is just so wonderful. And it's one of my favorite movies that's come out in the last 10 years or so. And Sam Neill is just, it was so weird to kind of watch Sam Neill in it because like, I hadn't really seen him in much outside like Jurassic Park. And obviously I'd seen In the Mouth of Madness, Event Horizon, things like that. But, for most of the 2000s, I hadn't really seen him in anything. And so to just see him doing something like that shows not just a tremendous range, but just to see him out there, I was like, this is just wonderful. This is just really, really good. And you're reminded that there's a lot of range here. And so even here in Event Horizon, he's obviously, he's definitely holding something back, it feels like, for most of the movie. And then as he obviously kind of gives into this descent into madness, it kind of he gets to go kind of wilder and wilder, and you can tell that he's having a blast with some of this stuff. And the final form he takes is, yeah,
it's one of those images, one of those things you saw this as a youngin, or anytime really. It's an image that certainly
happened.
Burn into your brain. Yeah, I wonder when he's in that like skin suit, like on set, he's got to be like sneak it up on people and boo. He's got to be like having fun with it, right?
Like, why wouldn't you? Yeah, you gotta.
I'm seeing here he's gonna be in the next Godzilla Kong movie.
Which they're making another Godzilla Kong movie. But
that line at the convention getting that much longer. Sam Neill is 78 years old. Like,
holy heck,
that makes sense. Like, Jurassic Park's 93, like, it was a long time ago, but like, it just doesn't seem right.
Man. Dude, Delroy Lindo's in that next Godzilla Kong movie, too. And so is Peter Jackson?
In it, like, as an actor?
Apparently. Apparently the only person coming back in this Godzilla Kong movie is Dan Stevens' character from the last one. No one else is. The rumor is Space Godzilla. But,
I mean, Supernova is the subtitle. You would think.
But
that's
I've been fooled before. But I didn't know Delroy Lindo was in it. That's pretty cool. But, yeah. Sam Neill rules. No notes.
I was gonna make a joke like we do with Fish, like it's Sam or it's Neil, but those both sound very normal. So
no, they don't. That's just
Sam Neill.
There's nothing strange about those at all.
It's Samuel. It's Yul.
It's Yule. What are you gonna do?
Kathleen Quinlan is Peters, the medical technician. A character that sees some pretty haunting visions, as many of the characters do, and meets a pretty grisly, graphic, achieved practically death towards the end of this movie. It's pretty gnarly. Pretty good. She seems to have a close relationship with the first person that sort of gets infected by this evil, and obviously watching them spiral, lose their mind, and nearly die does quite a number on her. But she ends up meeting her own demise after seeing images of her child running around the ship. Freaky stuff. She plays it well. This as we go through this crew, we definitely start to kind of see the Alien comparison, the Alien vibes, which apparently is one of the reasons that Paul W.S. Anderson did his rewrite to sort of help separate it from Alien. Apparently it leaned a lot closer to those parallels, but certainly just the makeup of this crew, sort of each person obviously has their job, whether it be pilot or weapons or repairs or medical, like she is, and these distinct personalities, they're sort of friendly antagonism with one another, their bond, their believability that they've worked many jobs together. The camaraderie is all there. So she's the first one we're talking about besides Captain Miller, and like I said, does a good job right up until that grisly death there.
Yeah, I do like that about this crew. It definitely feels like a group that it feels like there's a lived-in history here that I don't need to see. I just can tell that this group has been working together for a long time. And I always like that in a movie because there's definitely situations like this. Like there's definitely alien setups here, or illusions here. And it's easy to just drop you in a group of characters, but it never feels natural. And it just feels like they're all kind of like, we're all old friends, but it's weird because you're acting like you don't know each other. In this case, they definitely feel like there's a lived-in history here. So when things happen to them, that pain feels a lot more real because you're watching these people lose friends they've had a long time. But it's sold as it is that way, and it's believable that it's that way versus the kind of larger point that maybe it's not. But it's... very unfortunate death. This is definitely one of the ones they really try to wring the most out of you, obviously having it be related to her child. And then, it's a very, very brutal ending. And a lot of this movie is practical. That should be pointed out that, there's obviously some CG stuff in the early sequences with the 0G, but a lot of the stuff in this movie is practical. And it's, they pull off a lot of these deaths surprisingly well, given that, these are kind of strange space deaths in many cases, but they still make them look really good.
Jolie Richardson plays Lieutenant Stark. She is another member of the crew and one of our eventual survivors, one of 3 crew members to make it to the very end, narrowly escapes death with the help of Captain Miller in the climax of this movie. She's shown throughout as being more than capable, able to hold her own. There's plenty of, not quite gratuitous, but certainly anytime you see, a movie set in the future, especially with space travel, there's this thing of, shared locker room, shared changing room. Women are comfortable stripping or getting naked or changing, in front of men. Starship Troopers is certainly the most egregious example of this, but you see it in the Alien movies and you see it here. She's just one of the guys. It's not a big deal in the future. That's how we show that we're so far in the future. So she's at the forefront of that. She's able to give crap as much as she gets it from the guys. She's just a member of the crew, kind of going back to the camaraderie, the shared history they all have here. Jolie Richardson, people might remember from 101 Dalmatians, where she starred opposite Jeff Daniels as the couple that adopts the dogs. Andrew, why do I feel like the live action 101 Dalmatians is mostly forgotten about today? Do you have that sense too?
I think it's first off, I think Glenn Close's Cruella de Vil was actually largely pretty well received, which I don't know about the
Yeah, I mean, my memory is that it was a big deal. Like, there's the McDonald's Happy Meal toys. They made a
everything had Happy
they made
Meal
a
toys,
sequel.
man.
I remember it being an event. Like, I don't think if you asked anybody that was around at the time, they would remember that movie. But I just feel like it's not. I don't know. People like the Renaissance era films, the animated movies, like still hold this such high place in pop culture. Even some of the lesser ones like Pocahontas or even Hercules. But I just feel like this live action movie was just as I don't know, just kind of vanished.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no hard feelings on this.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen it since it came out. I have no idea if it's even good or anything. I just remember there was this might be true of the cartoon as well. I don't remember, but there was a dog named Dipstick. That was my favorite one. His tail was black like it was dipped.
Wonderful.
And those are my memories of 101 Dalmatians. Anyway, Jolie Richardson, Andrew.
So she kind of gets thrown into the thick of it. I like that about the character. She's not afraid to stand up for herself. She doesn't take anything from any of the guys. Definitely kind of... I could see very much how this character could be like, get those comparisons to Ripley. I'm not sure if that's kind of the stuff that, Anderson was looking to kind of retool when he kind of revisited the script. But, yeah, I like this character a lot. She is ultimately one of our ultimately two survivors. But I like the character. I like what she gets to do. She's capable. She gets to be in the thick of it. And is also firmly in the, I hate everything about this. Let's leave camp. So.
Yep. That's why she lives.
Kind of like that about, like, Fish says it too, but he just gets to survive. But,
fair.
But, like, the truth is, like, most of this group is almost all aligned in that, like, yeah, screw this, man, we're out. Like, almost none of them are just like, oh yeah, let's totally hang out and keep talking with this ship from a hell dimension. Let's do that. But yeah, it's I like this character a lot. Jolie, yeah, definitely recognize her from other things too. She was apparently in the David Fincher Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. She plays the long lost niece, but yeah, great actor. Good stuff here.
Richard T. Jones plays Cooper, the rescue technician of the crew. So he's doing a lot of like repairs on the ship, and at one point he gets blown into outer space, but makes his way back to the ship in a scene that I quite enjoy. He is certainly, if there's anybody that's comic relief in this movie, it's going to be him. Certainly a wise ass, always cracking jokes, giving people a hard time. But as we've said, this crew clearly has affection for one another. I do like, just kind of in general, that a lot of the conflict this movie is not based on infighting. They're not turning on each other. They're not needlessly antagonistic, which you might see in a lot of similar movies, similar setups. I think this movie is pretty smart about where the conflict comes from. But like I said, if there's anybody that's a jokester in this movie, it's old Cooper.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, he's trying to roll with what's happening. At one point, like you said, he ends up stranded out in space, but he uses his oxygen tank to get himself back to the ship. So he's got one of the most improbable survivals, but I'm not having any problems with it without the way this movie is going. But it does this way more gracefully than Matt Damon does it in The Martian. So props for that. But it's he's definitely filling in like the comic relief role, just kind of being the wisecracker. But again, as things start to go sideways, he is another one that's like, let's get on out of here. Ain't no reason to hang around and do this. He's fixing the ship in a lot of cases. I love the way he fixes the ship, because in my brain I'm watching him do that and I'm like, would that work? Like, would this actually like seal up a broken panel and let the ship depressurize again? And then I realized that I'm like, I'm watching the movie wrong.
The most unrealistic part of this film.
Yeah,
but that
like,
actually fixed this
seal?
The light space dimensional traveling ship. Jack Noseworthy plays Justin. Clearly the youngest member of the crew and the first one to succumb to the evil, although he ends up being one of the survivors. But man, this guy goes through hell. I mean, he has some really gnarly scenes. This evil, this whatever it is, this demonic presence, this hell, sort of drives him to try to kill himself by shooting himself out of the ship, out of its airlock, and he's successful in doing that. The chamber he's in gets depressurized. His eyes and mouth start bleeding. He gets shot out into space and then brought back in. But there's this shot of him with his hands over his face in like 0G, and blood is just like pouring through his fingers. It is so gross, so nasty, and he looks hella messed up once he's back in there. They immediately put him in the like stasis chamber, and he survives to the end. He sleeps the rest of the movie, but they put him through hell before then. But as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like I said, young member of the crew, he does a good job being like sort of appearing to be like the most innocent member. And of course, that means he's going to be put through the paces, so we really feel the evil of this ship.
Yeah, it's definitely a very, like, yeah, that scene where, like, because you see, like, the veins start to, like, bulge on his arms and stuff. It's so gross. Like, it's just, like, and it's one of those things where, like, I definitely had another moment in my brain where I'm like, this work? Fish sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Like,
it's funny. Like, it's so, like, what am I thinking of? Total Recall has, whenever they are in no atmosphere, they have that very cool effect of their eyes bulging out and their face swelling, which I have heard specifically that is not what would happen. That is just a special effect they made up because it looked cool. But this movie presents a very different reality of what happens, and I don't know what the reality would be. I would imagine you would immediately freeze to death, like in the vastness of space. Like I can't imagine you could survive any amount of time in open space, a few miles off of Neptune and survive. But I imagine this is also not realistic. But I don't know. I don't know what the reality would be.
Who knows?
We've seen another instance. Mission to Mars. Remember when Tim Robbins takes his helmet off and his skin immediately freezes? I feel like that's the most realistic, in my expert opinion, based on everything I know about space.
The thing about that scene that I do struggle with, though, that really harms the realism for me, is that Tim Robbins would never be on Mars. And that just makes it really hard for me to deal with.
He doesn't make it to Mars, Andrew.
Yeah. Stuff's gnarly when he's in the airlock and almost dies.
Yep, gnarly stuff. Jason Isaacs plays DJ. He's the doctor on board. And this guy had just weird vibes. I don't know if it's the way he's playing it or what, but he seems like, I don't know, like he doesn't trust anybody. Like he's up to something. I was expecting this guy to turn at some point. He never really does. Seems to be a stand-up guy throughout the movie until Dr. Weir hangs him on wires and spills his guts onto a table. He has one of the more gnarly deaths, which you see enough of a glimpse of to be like, wow, that's disturbing. And apparently this is one of the scenes that was severely cut back. There's apparently a lot more footage of him strung up on those wires. He is one of the characters I noticed a lot of like clearly 80-yard lines, and I don't know if that was to clear up some exposition or what there. But as far as the performance, good stuff, good job. Like I said, I was expecting a bit of an evil turn by the way he's playing it. Never really comes, but I think he's more just wary of like, obviously, like look around us. In fact, Dr. Weir explains the mission to him. Like, right, they don't know why they're going to Neptune until they get there. And he's like, okay, here's the deal. This was a secret ship. It disappeared. Now it's reappeared. And we got this transmission, and he hits play on a tape recorder, and it's just 30 seconds of people screaming in agony. Yeah, here's why we're here. Let's go aboard the ship.
What?
And DJ is one of the people that he recognizes something being screamed as being in Latin. Apparently, he has some knowledge there, so he gets one of the earliest signs that something is very, very wrong. Aside from the horrible screaming on that transmission,
right?
He's almost
like, my God.
He's immediately like, this is not a thing we should be doing. So I think he plays that suspicion very well.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jason Isaacs is entered into the Paul W.S. Anderson orbit a little bit after this, because he's in this. He's then in Soldier, and I guess he's the narrator in the Resident Evil movie too. So and then obviously he then got associated with a little series called Harry Potter, and I think that kind of did a lot for him. But he was also in The Patriot. Yeah, he was in The Patriot. I remember he was at a con or something, and somebody, I think it was him they were talking to, and somebody brought up Jolie Richardson's also in The Patriot. I forgot about that. But somebody, like, they were talking to him about The Patriot, and like people would come up to him and be like, "Man, Patriot's one of my favorite movies. We used to watch that in school all the time." And Jason Isaacs is just like, "What? like what are you talking about?" And they're like, "Yeah, man, we watched it in school." He's like, all of that was like really made up, right? Like, that's like not, it's by no means a documentary or a historical record, but people are like, "Yeah, man, it's awesome. I love watching it." And he's just like, "All right."
And to round out the crew, Sean Pertwee plays Smithy. This is the pilot of the ship. He is always smoking. He also does not want to be there. No one wants to be there, but he is among the first to be like, "I don't even want to set foot on that ship. Like, what are we doing here?" And he is trying to get them to leave from the very beginning. Does eventually meet his death. Not as gnarly, though. He kind of just gets blown up. Could have been a lot worse based on some of these other characters. Sean Pertwee been in a ton of stuff, but maybe most known for his role as Alfred Pennyworth on Gotham. I guess just depending on what circles that you're in or what you're watching, but certainly a high-profile role that he would come into a little bit down the line as he aged into the role. But like I said, steadily acting for decades at this point.
Yeah, he's it's just he's a British character actor. I remember him from a couple of things. He was in the Alan Partridge movie. Have we talked about him before? I feel like we have. I don't know why. I don't know what we would have talked about before. We didn't do Equilibrium. He's also in Mutant Chronicles. I feel like there was something we talked about him in, and I can't see what it would be, so I guess not. But all right, whatever. He's got a bit part in the Alan Partridge movie they made. He's the son of the third Doctor Who. I know a lot of people know him for that association as well. But yeah, Gotham is definitely probably the thing he's I've said probably too many times. I would say Gotham is the thing he's probably most known for to like American audiences. He was also in that show Elementary for a couple of seasons. He was Lestrade, the Lestrade stand-in for that. And then has been on all sorts of other shows and various movies and television all over the place. But it's here he's also meets a very unfortunate end, but he's again just very much like, man, we should not do this. We should not be here. It's one of those things where, like, the minute everybody boards that ship, they are like, we need to not do this. Ever.
Andrew, let's jump into this movie now. All the crazy stuff in this movie, and let's start with the best scene of the film, or at least our personal favorite. So, in your opinion, Andrew, when is this movie firing on all cylinders? What is the best scene in Event Horizon?
To me, it's the finale. It's when everything kind of finally like takes its kind of you know, maximum chaos. Is when it like, so we've lost most of the crew. The Lewis and Clark has been destroyed, and Sam Neill has kind of fully succumbed to whatever this thing is. And so he's like cut out his eyes, and he's sitting on the bridge, and so Fish and so Miller and Stark are pretty much the only ones left at this point, are trying to survive and get away from this guy. And this is where we kind of get the Sam Neill monologuing as this character, this kind of fully possessed version of the character. They escape briefly, but then this leads to kind of Miller and Sam Neill's character having like a final showdown in the like pit of the gravity drive. And this stuff is just, it's really cool how this all comes together. We get the kind of final form of Dr. Weir's character here, where he's got all the kind of cuts and scars etched into his body. I don't know if they're in particular symbols or not, but it's needlessly brutal looking. Like it's a real like Hellraiser type situation.
It definitely reminded me of Pinhead, like without the pins. Like it was
right,
like just
like,
the
like if you were like, if I ran into this guy on the street, I would be scared. So so Miller and Weir kind of have their final showdown here, where, you know, Sam Neill's character is making it clear, it's like, you guys don't get to leave now. Like the ship has you, and it's not gonna let you leave. Like it wants a new crew, and it's gonna get a new crew basically. Until finally, basically, Lawrence Fishburne's character makes the ultimate sacrifice and just blows up the corridors to separate the front half of the ship from the back, so that Stark and Cooper can escape with Justin. And then, unfortunately, that leaves Fish to descend into the hell dimension with Weir. But this whole way this all unfolds, like the fact that this chaos is at an all-time high, and the fact that the ship is kind of fighting back in such a way, kind of culminated with that appearance of Dr. Weir in his final form. Like all of this, I was like, man, this is gnarly. Like this is brutal. And it all comes together for me. I like how this all unfolds. And then ultimately, Stark and Cooper are able to escape, we think. Because that's what kind of gets me about separating the front half of the ship from the back half of the ship. Like, is the front half not haunted? It's like separating the sides. Does that do anything? Who knows?
Yeah, it's you know, it doesn't have the engine, which is the portal, but there is this somewhat ambiguous ending where they may still not quite be out of trouble. But maybe they're having nightmares because they experience some crazy stuff. That's a great question, Andrew. But I do like this pick, though. I mean, the final form of Sam Neill.
Terrifying.
Boy, it's terrifying. It's gross. I do. I also like the form before this, though, where he had no eyes and he had like the blood running down his cheeks. I thought that was pretty gnarly. Now he's naked, his skin's all cut up, and his eyes are back, but still pretty creepy. This apparently is a reworked ending. I do wonder. I couldn't see for sure this was a reshoot, but it was not part of the original test screening. Lawrence Fishburne was simply fighting the burned man, the guy from his past that he had to leave behind to burn. It was just a fight with him. It didn't test well. Then they made it with Sam Neill. So the possibility that they were like, oh, we got to reshoot this with Sam Neill. Let's give him a new, crazy, gnarly, naked, cut up look. It certainly adds a lot to the movie because, like I said, that is certainly one of the images that will stick with you. Andrew, I want to roll it back just a little bit here to the cast. Kathleen Quinlan, who we discussed, I was just looking at their ages. She's 70 years old now. I said earlier, Sam Neill is 78 years old. Andrew, how old is Lawrence Fishburne? Do you know?
75.
Andrew, Lawrence Fishburne. whose first movie was Apocalypse Now, is 64 years old. He's 14 years younger than Sam Neill. This is kind of breaking my brain.
No, good Lord, what? He's younger than my mom.
Yeah, he's a little older than my dad, but he's basically my dad's age. Like, what?
Like Sam
What
Neill
a
and my
career.
dad, like Sam Neill is a year older than my dad, and Lawrence Fishburne is younger than my mom. That's breaking my brain.
Wild. Good for you. Good for you, Fish. What can we say?
So he did.
Fish.
So I mean, yeah, if he did Apocalypse Now in '79, then he was 18.
Yeah,
Like,
I
that was like,
think I read that he
yeah.
lied about his age even to get that role. But yeah, what a way to start a career too. First movie, 18, Apocalypse Now, and oh man,
it's a good thing he didn't Citizen Kane himself there. That would have been
Yeah,
pretty
no
rough.
joke. No,
Now I understand why
joke,
Orson
Andrew.
Welles ate his fat ass to death. That's one of my favorite all-time jokes in any
Superbad?
movie. and No one ever understands it. Yeah. But yeah, that's Anyway, continue on, Chris.
My favorite scene, I guess that's what we're at now in the
Yep.
podcast. Maybe it's a cheat a little bit. I like the glimpses that we get into the original crew, right? So we have the recording, we have some flashes, some imagery throughout, but I guess the biggest scene that we get is they finally recover the ship's log, which is stored on compact disc, which I love because it's like 2047
Fantastic.
or whatever. It's just the most futuristic technology we could imagine in 1997. But
Yep.
they finally recover, I can put some filters on it, clean it up, and they're finally able to see the last images, last transmission of this crew. And it's like it's on a handheld camera. They're looking out on the monitors. And from what I've read, apparently we're watching an orgy. It wasn't necessarily clear to me watching it in the movie that it's sexual. It just looks like a bunch of naked, disfigured people like eating each other and cutting each other and killing each other, but in like a gleeful way. Like, it's truly disturbing stuff. This is usually cited as the content that was cut the most, like images of the original crew, the held image, and this, I forget what they call it, demon orgy or something like that. But what we get is pretty shocking and pretty gnarly. And like I said, I don't even necessarily see it as sexual. It's just like images that are flashing almost so fast you can't. All you know is like I'm watching like exposed flesh and blood, and something's coming out of this man's mouth, and someone's getting stabbed, and then like the last image is the captain with his hands outstretched, bloodied, with eyeballs in his palms, and he says the Latin phrase. And as soon as the transmission ends, Lawrence Fishburne looks up from the monitor and says, "We're leaving," and walks off. Like, it's just like the
It's
best
perfect.
response to like the most gnarly, messed up stuff in the movie. Just, "We're leaving." Like, that's it. That's just like, what else are you gonna say?
There's nothing else to say to that.
What
Like,
happened?
there's
What can we learn? What other logs are there? We're leaving. We're getting a safe distance. We're blowing it up. We're leaving. Like, I love the
there's
response.
Nothing more
but
to say here. Yeah, I always love that. It's like, don't you want to stay and find out more? No, I actually don't. I have zero desire to do that. Like,
the best thing I can say about this movie, we talked a lot about its legacy and it's, overrated or underrated, excuse me. Like, people saying it's underrated at the gym, like it's a reevaluation. I enjoy this movie on rewatch. It's not like, I'm not putting it in like masterwork category or anything, but the best thing I can say about it is it's for like a big studio, like Hollywood major release. It is some of the most gnarly and disturbing body horror images I've ever seen, but certainly up to this point, like up to 97.
yeah,
it maybe to this day, like I think of something like, like it's crazy that like the Terrifier movie is released in theaters now, but those aren't major studio productions. There's plenty of indie stuff. There's plenty of straight to streaming or straight to video stuff that gets way crazier, I know, but like the fact that this is a studio picture, that this is the guy that did Mortal Kombat, like his next movie, and he was able to put this on film, even though it is heavily cut down and heavily edited, the stuff that still ends up on screen is gnarly and stays with you, certainly for people of a certain age that saw this movie at a certain time, but anybody watching this movie, like you will not forget Naked Sam Neill or this orgy video or the doctor strung up on wires. Like it is wild. Like when you really think about what they like, I don't think about going to the movie theaters in 1997 and seeing this. Like it is wild, and I think it's the movie's biggest strength. So for that reason, I'm highlighting this little video as my favorite scene in the movie.
This is a great pick. These sequences, like you said, are kind of like they're definitely, I can see them getting cut a lot. So like it's definitely something where like it's again the Hellraiser comparison for here comes through pretty hard, because like the whole thing about Hellraiser is like it's about like pleasure through pain essentially. And so like with this you're getting this kind of like brutal like orgy, but also they're like brutalizing each other and they're like disfiguring and attacking each other while all this is happening. Like it's largely implied. They show just enough images to like burn it into your skull, but not enough to kind of give you even the more brutal details that have to exist. And so there's actually a really good segue to talk about this. It's mentioned on the Wikipedia, but there is a prequel comic book series coming out right now through IDW called Event Horizon Dark Descent. And what it is specifically a comic about the crew of the Event Horizon and what happens to them. It is a interesting approach in that obviously we know what happens to this original crew. And so the first issue is largely just a countdown to the usage of the gravity drive, and then issue 2 basically just picks up immediately after they've used it and they are now in this hell dimension, because that is essentially the realization here, is that what is presented as the gravity drive just creating essentially a black hole that it jumps through to go to a further point further away in space gives way to this realization that it is actually passing through another dimension when it does this. So it's not actually seemingly coming out on the other side of anything. It's just going into this hell dimension. That's kind of what we land on here as the guess. So this comic is filling in that gap of basically what happened when they jumped to that hell dimension. So anyway, I picked up the first 2 issues of this comic. Those are the only ones available yet. So the first issue, like I said, is largely about them jumping into the hell dimension. It's like the lead up to it. So you're meeting the crew, kind of some of the details of them and who they are. And then issue 2 is largely them in the hell dimension, and then it reveals, I guess, a villain of sorts. I don't know if I want to say too much about it, but
I did a Google image Event Horizon Dark Descent, and I saw an image of this demon stepping through the portal, and he's saying, "Surprise, mother." Is that the villain?
He doesn't say that in the comic, but but yes, and the comic hasn't really hidden that there's this kind of larger villain that they're introducing, and so they seem to be introducing this idea that there is a ruler of this hell dimension, and that's who this individual is. And so we don't really know too much about him yet. He just appears towards the end of the second issue, and then they will take this from there. It's pretty wild. And I will say that it's definitely it'll probably be. I'll be interested to see the reception because there are people who like the undefined nature of the movie, and the comic is obviously seemingly trying to offer a much more defined version of the evil that they face. And so I can see how that would play kind of differently back and forth as far as whether revealing that information is good or bad. I think having a little bit more information is not a bad thing, so I'm curious to see where the comic goes with it. But this stuff is definitely where, like, you can tell a lot of the cut stuff got taken from, and that might be why a lot of Jason Isaacs' dialogue changed, because he watched a lot of this, or he studied it, or he was the one kind of studying the dialogue and the language in the video, and so it's possible that that's where a lot of those changes come from. But yeah, if you got to shy away from that, but like, you know, this movie ultimately is released. It's 96 minutes, and the original cut was like 130 minutes. So that's like 35 missing minutes of footage. Like that's a lot. Like, yeah. It's one thing to be missing like 5-10 minutes, because the thing about, like, if you're missing like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of a movie, that could literally be 10 seconds every few minutes, and over time it adds up. When you're talking 35 minutes, like, that's a lot of plot that ends up on the cutting room floor. Like,
yeah, that's backstory and plot lines and substantial stuff at that point.
Like, you take like Batman v Superman, which we, you know, my feelings on that movie are not, you know, hidden record. But when you take a movie that's 3 hours and you got to cut it down to 220, like, you're taking 40 minutes of plot out of a movie. Like, yeah, I'm not shocked that the theatrical version made less sense. Not that, you know, whatever. But it's kind of that thing where it's like, well, what did you think was going to happen? Like, how'd you think this was going to go? And, you know, I don't know that the 130-minute version was better. Like, you know, a lot of people presume that it would have been because it adds all this additional context. But, you know, there's no way to know. It's one of those things. It's like, would Edgar Wright's Ant-Man have been better than Peyton Reed's? I don't know. Doesn't exist. I can't tell you. But this stuff is definitely the most brutal in the movie. And it's definitely the thing that sticks with you. Just this glimpse into this, what this hell dimension did to these people. Because you're not even seeing the hell dimension. You're seeing what it did to these people, or what it made them do to each other. And that's almost more terrifying. So,
Paul W.S. Anderson has said that if there were a director's cut, it wouldn't necessarily be the full 2-hour plus movie, but somewhere in between what we got in theatrical and that original rough cut, he thinks is the ideal version of this movie. But it was heavily cut down by the studio, released, becomes a hit on video, and it's at that point where they revisit it, where they realize the footage has been either lost or destroyed or deteriorated beyond use. Apparently, it was not stored properly, which is crazy. It's not like it was lost in a fire or misplaced. It was like, we didn't take care of the footage good enough, so we can't go back and scan it. That's wild. That happened to like a Hollywood movie in 1997. And, you know, I guess that's a pro check in the digital column if you want to compare how they make movies now versus relying on film. But that is wild. And I do appreciate that he has said in no uncertain terms, there will never be a director's cut. Like, he's saying, like, it's not possible, it won't happen, the resources aren't there. He said that apparently there is like a version of that rough cut on tape, but that won't necessarily be released, but it is something that he has mentioned does exist, although I couldn't find any record of him actually watching it, but it was like a recovered version of the rough cut. But yeah, as far as official releases, we're not getting anything more substantial than what has already been released out there. In terms of this ship going to, you know, they keep calling it hell or hell-like or hell dimension, and I don't know if the comic gets more explicit with it, but I do like, as far as the movie's concerned, it's not presenting it as literal hell, but like that's just like the closest term we can think of to describe a dimension of evil and chaos and torture and pain. Like it's it's what you might call hell, but not necessarily like a biblical hell or Satan or anything like that. It's just like, what do you call a place so evil and so horrible? It's hell. And I just like that. I like that it's not that specific, if that makes sense. It's not the devil. It's just the worst, most evil dimension you could imagine.
Yeah, I like that. And even in the comic, the entity that reveals himself does not call himself the devil. Calls himself something else. But it's one of those things that by not seeing the actual dimension itself, you kind of leave it open to interpretation. It's got a real, like, in the comic, it's really weird. It's very, very strange. And it's like a weird, like, they're constantly surrounded by, like, this, like, void of, like, but it's like a blob type thing that's on all sides, and it's got this Lovecraftian thing to it, and it's just very, very unsettling. The artist for the comic, Tristan Jones, is very good for it. But they play coy with a lot, and you know, that's one of the things that's criticized about the movie to an extent, and also praised by many people, is just ultimately how vague this dimension is. You know, it's just a place of pure evil and pure chaos. And it's called this hell dimension, and the implication is and this is where it gets a little interesting, is like the implication is obviously that whatever went in there, something came back with it. The implication sort of being that the ship's alive to an extent, that whatever is in that dimension is essentially controlling the ship now and is able to control these people. So it plays coy with a lot of that. Obviously, the presumption is that it takes over Sam Neill's character at some point and essentially acts through him. That's how he destroys the Lewis and Clark. That's how he ultimately is planning to defeat all the remaining people, but they're able to thwart him in a variety of ways. But that hell dimension stuff is just very interesting, but it really is just like it says. It's just a place of pure chaos and evil. And that's just a horrible thing to fathom.
The opening of this movie, well, first off, you have the opening credits with the, like, it sounds early 2000s, but I guess also late 90s techno-esque soundtrack. You hear that style of music in the opening credits and the end credits, but not really during the movie itself. It is like electronic, but it's not like a rave. It's such a weird tone to set in the beginning. It's such a weird thing to play over the credits. But that's the true beginning of this movie. But then we see like the exterior of the ship, and my note is like, oh, like that's CG, but like that looks pretty good for 97. Like I like the look of this ship. Like, you know, obviously we could do practical ships. We've been doing that for decades at this point. But like for a CG ship, I was pretty satisfied. They look pretty good. And then like we cut to the inside of the ship, with a bunch of items floating around in zero G, and I go, oh no, that's a CG coffee cup and CG scissors, and it looks like it. And they do this thing multiple times where things floating in CG like clink and like hit each other like midair, a little sound effect. Hashtag PP. It's very 1997 CG, and certainly we had the technology to make real things float around. I don't know. They wanted to go the CG route because it was new and shiny, I guess. But thankfully, something that helps the movie age well is, like you said, so much of the violence and horror is practical. We talked about Sam Neill's skin suit, complete with like fake dong that you see in wide shots. Super gnarly, the body flayed and hung up on wires, the big orgy scene. But I want to talk about the medical technician Peters and her fall to her death, because we know that she has a son back home. She was supposed to go see him on holiday, but they got called in for this mission, so she's like, it's fine, I'll get him for summer. So she's missing her kid. She has some really creepy visions that her son is there on the ship and his legs are like rotting. Like, it's really gross. And then as they're going to make her escape, she sees her son running around the engine room. And like, obviously she's got to know, like, intellectually her kid is not there, but she's clearly under the influence and control of this evil being, whatever it is. So she runs through these corridors chasing her kid. She finally sees him. She's about to catch up to him. And whoops, she walks into a pit. She falls into the engine room, hitting a bunch of like bars and stuff as on her way down. And what is clearly like a dummy, I guess you would call it, like ragdolling down. And then there's the shot of the dummy like hitting the ground, where it's very fast, but again, it's pretty clearly like some kind of dummy stuffed with like this fake blood, because like it hits the ground and like shatters, like her blood splurts out and bones break, and then we cut to a shot of the actual actor laying there and all the makeup and stuff. It's pretty gnarly. It's pretty visceral in a way that only something that's practical can be. So even if I can watch this and be like, well, that's clearly a dummy, you still get that wince, that impact, that ooh of the body like splashing. I can't think of a better word. Splashing onto the ground from that big fall. It is gross.
It's called squelching. But no, this is brutal, and like it's one of those things where like, man, like there's just, and it's coming, and like because they're trying to get off the ship, they're getting all these CO2 canisters, and Sean Pertwee's character has already run over there, and like she's running out, and she looks back, and like she's gonna do it, she's gonna go back, and you're just like, man, like. He's not there, but like it just speaks to the grip and the kind of hold that it can have on these people. And that fall followed by the kind of ragdoll fall followed by the squelching noise is the just for all you folks, the terrible, but
good squelch Foley, Andrew.
Yeah, it's brutal, and again, there's a word to describe this movie. Brutal is just what keeps coming up, because almost the way everybody dies is brutal. Like whether it's her death falling from that height, whether it's Jason Isaacs' death being literally like vivisected and put on display, like whether it's Justin's almost death when he almost goes out the airlock, whether it's Sean Pertwee's death when he gets blown up with a bomb right in his face. Like they all go in these deeply brutal ways, and it's just tough. And then like even Miller, Lawrence Fish. I mean, Fish sacrifices himself to save the rest of the crew, but then ends up in the hell dimension. We don't see it. That's the legacy sequel I want, is that like Fish emerges from the hell dimension,
fights his way back out
30 years later. It's just a Doom movie is what it's going to be. But it's
dude, a Doom movie starring 64-year-old Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, sounds good to me.
Don't threaten me with a good time. But yeah, I that's so everybody's death is just super brutal, and you feel all of them, and they do a really, really good job at just making the impact of all of these hit. And yeah, it's tough to watch some of them.
A lot of characters with no eyeballs, just some wild and gnarly stuff. And like I said, that is the best thing I can say about this movie, just the visceral body horror that they put on screen. I think it's why it has the legacy and reputation that it does.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of really good visual cues in here. Obviously there's some, like there's a clip in here where I'm like, well, that's just The Shining. But there's definitely other moments where there's some real creativity put on display, making this stuff look as unsettling as it can. And I think, it's that thing where like you see Paul Anderson pulling off some genuinely unique visual cues. And it's just cool to see.
Well, at the top of the episode, we already announced our theme for December. you remember, it's you picking the movies that we cover. Again, there's a link in the show notes. Fill out that form. Let us know what we're talking about. Let us know what we're covering in December. But there's a whole month in between now and December. That month is November, and that theme is Stoner Month. That's right. A month that we've talked about before on mic, I think, because we covered Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, and I was like, I was putting together a Stoner Month, and I had this movie slotted in there. We ended up using it for a different theme, but I want to revisit it because I think it's actually a pretty rich category. And Andrew, this is interesting because I myself am not one to partake in marijuana or really any drugs. I'm a bit of a goody two shoes that way. The drug.
I'm an ibuprofen man myself, so
acetaminophen usually for me, but to each their own. But the DARE program really did a number on me. But hey, Andrew, I know you're not, you're pretty much in the same boat as far as your use of substances, but still, stoner comedy is such a pillar, such a subgenre that like even people that aren't quote unquote in the scene are gonna see these movies, and by golly, gonna enjoy them. Like it's like a genre unto itself, right? And as we were even like picking the movies for Stoner Month, we were like, yeah, well, this movie, some we're covering, some are not. Like this movie doesn't explicitly like show people smoking pot, but come on, it's a stoner movie. Like it's the vibe, like it's the crowd. You know what I mean?
Right. Like it's absolutely like. There's definitely movies that imply it. There's movies that are, and there's definitely movies where you could probably say that, like, maybe it's not about it, but it's appealing to that audience, like it's trying to. So, yeah, a lot of stuff like that. And, but yeah, I don't particularly partake, but my stance, as it has always been, is that funny is funny.
Well said, Andrew. And it kicks off next week with a movie that I think is a nice bridge between our current spooky season and the Stoner Month to come. Next week, we'll be talking about Idle Hands, a horror comedy that I remember quite enjoying back in the day, but I have not watched in over a decade. Does it hold up? We're going to find out. We're going to talk about those positives. That's what we do. So come back next week for that. Don't forget to submit your picks for what we cover in December. And until then, just remember that maybe not every movie is great.
But all movies have greatness.
Thank you to Mark Benavides for singing our theme song. You can check him out on Instagram at NotThatMarkAnthony. Thanks to Mitch for the music. Follow him on Blue Sky and check the show notes for that SoundCloud link. Check out our store on TeePublic for some Best of the Rest merch. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. That's the only way that we grow. Follow us on social media at BOTRcast. Thank you. Thanks to Mitch for the music. Follow him on Blue Sky. Check out his SoundCloud link. Take it. What do I say there? Follow him on Blue Sky and check the description. And check the episode description for that. What would I say? Oh my god, I'm forgetting what I say.
SoundCloud link. Chris, gas detector.
Show
now,
notes.
Please.
Show notes. That's what I'm forgetting. And check the show notes for that SoundCloud link.
Yeah, she's definitely very capable. She's the one that's kind of, takes a lot of also takes a lot of this kind of on the brunt. And oh hey bud, what's up?
Andrew said hi. Here. Say hi.
Hey
Andrew.
Bruce, what's going on?
Good?
You're good?
Yes.
What do you got going tonight? You going to sleep?
Yes.
You can look at him. He's right there.
What do you got going on tomorrow?
The fall festival
What do you
at
say?
my school.
The what festival at your school?
Fall festival at my school.
Oh, the fall festival. Oh, that'll be cool. Do you get to wear a costume?
Yes.
What's your costume gonna be?
Mario.
You're being Mario? Oh, that's right, because that's why your dad has the mustache, right? Because he's Luigi.
Mhm.
Awesome. And yours classic Mario?
What is that?
Yes, classic.
Yours,
Mario.
your original Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. You're not going like Fire Flower Mario or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
You don't know what that is. Okay.
All right, tell Andrew you gotta go to bed.
I gotta go to bed.
All right, Bruce. We'll talk to you later.
Okay.
Bye
Okay,
bye.
bye.
Bye bye.